right, so we mentioned a little bit last time. We'll touch on it this time. Maybe talk a bit about volume. And I'm mentioning this because it's a never-ending topic on Professional Muscle, the forum I'm on. For years and years and years, always been how much volume and what do you do and why do you do what you do? And I'm seeing more and more stuff out there based on research studies. Andy Galpin, I don't know if you follow Andy Galpin at all. He did a quick, he's an actual sports medicine doctor. He's legit. He's actually really good. No BS. And he was talking a bit about volume and some stuff that Brad and other people have talked about the 10 to 20 sets of volume per week. It's a pretty big window, depending on how you look at what 10 or 20 sets are. And I have myself over 40 years now done all kinds of volume. I mean, I started out in the early days, 6 days a week, Arnold Schwarzenegger's, Encyclopedia of a Bodybuilder workout. It was like,
you said you were doing 2 a days at once too.
What's that?
Weren't you doing 2 a days at once?
I was doing 2 a day. Yeah. When I decided to be pro after finishing the teenage nationals, I said, well, I got to do more because it's always about more, right? At least we thought so back then. So yeah, it was 2 a day, morning sessions and evening sessions. Yeah. And that was 6 days a week, twice a day. So that's kind of like what Jay Cutler has done, especially back then. And maybe it's a Massachusetts thing. I was Massachusetts, he was Massachusetts. I don't know. But yeah, really high volume. And then I found as I got older, I went to lower volume, probably my lowest volume nowadays, which works really well for me. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'd like to hear what your progression was with volume over the years, if you've changed or stayed the same or.
I mean, as mentioned previously, I kind of started with the whole strength stuff. So that's like very low volume, right? So started with that. That didn't work. So then, that was, I'm just trying to think here. So I started with the strength stuff. That wasn't really working. And then I switched to, I think it was Mountain Dog style stuff, like John Meadows stuff. And that was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. I don't know if it resulted in like superior gains or anything, but well, it was certainly better than the strength-based stuff. I don't know if it was optimal, I guess, but it was a lot of fun. So that was great. And, John's put a lot of really interesting programs out. So
I was going to ask you, which I know there's so many of them. Which program did you like and why did you like it?
So I remember Creeping Death was a big one. And also the Executioner. Was another one that I did. So those were, well named, lots of fun, right? And it had a real variety of stuff in it, which was, as I said, it was a lot of fun, a fun way to train. Then I remember I reached out to Chris Cormier for a bit of help, and he was a real volume guy, and he put together a program for me, and it was literally 4 sets of 15 of everything, and tons of exercises each workout.
Really?
And he was like, it's like Lee Haney says, right? Stimulate, don't annihilate. And he's like, I can tell looking at you that you're an annihilator. And I was like, you're right.
So let's back off a little bit, but add more volume, basically.
Was the approach there. And that was okay. So where I've actually landed on this whole thing is I think that you need both. You need volume on your isolation movements, and you need more strength focused on the compound. So what that looks like for me now is on the compound movements, I'll do like a top set and a back off set where I won't waste any volume on the way up. So I'll do like sets of 4, right? Just to feel the weight. Which I think Dante was a proponent of, if I remember correctly.
JP picked up as well.
And then when you get up to like your working weight, then you take a bit of a break and then hit your working rate, top set, back off like 20% weight or something like that. Go for a higher rep range on the back off set. But then with the isolation stuff, that I prefer to do sort of like more like 15 rep, like 4 sets of 15 and just go for the pump type of thing. And that's like also completely focusing on the actual muscle that I'm trying to fire, as opposed to like, I don't care if I have 1 pound on the bar, right? You know, or whatever it is, the machine generally for the isolation stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and yeah, like dumbbell laterals, like, you know, I am not the guy there with 25s in each hand, right? I'm, you know, I've got like 6 kilos, like 8 kilos, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I just want to focus on firing the delt and the delt only. I don't want to bring traps. I don't want to bring any of that in. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've landed. It's a bit anticlimactic, I think, to say both, right? But yeah, I definitely don't subscribe to the it seems to me that science has a real bias towards volume, and just seems to think that it's volume, 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 volume. And I don't I don't subscribe to that view, because it never happened for me.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So that's,
I would say the same for me too. I you know, somewhat surprising, I think we're not that far off from each other where we are right now.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, for people listening, whatever, exactly what I do. So I trained yesterday. I would do a 2-way split, A/B split. I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. All the other days are rest days. So I'll hit everything twice within 8 days. That's my split. So yesterday was chest, shoulders, and back. And I usually do 2 exercises per body part, and that's it. Back gets 3 because just back's more complicated or whatever. So like yesterday, what I did, I went in, I did an incline type press, 2 sets, working sets. I did 4 total sets because the first one, I'm totally cold. So I go in, I put like 10 kilo in each side, 25 pounds, and just do 20 reps. I don't count that, you know?
Yeah.
Then I start counting. So the next set will have like a 20 kilo on each side, 45-pound plate. And I'll do 12 to 15 reps. Then the next set, I'll double that weight. Now I've got, you know, 100 kilos on a total, whatever, 225 pounds. Then I might do 6 to 8 reps on that. Then another heavier set, 4 reps or so. Then a top set, max set, where I try to prevent myself from getting injured. I try to make sure I fail at no less than 10. So I go to 10, I fail. Then I do my rest pause. I take 15 deep breaths. I go back. I usually get 2 more reps. And if I feel it, I'll do that 1 more time. And that's, you know, my major work. And then I go in and do something like a cable crossover for 3 sets.
Right.
Machine fly for 3 sets. And that will be straight sets, usually 12 to 15 reps. I squeeze as much as possible. And I might do a drop set on the last set just to get a little something extra. Or even maybe a little rest pause, but not pushing quite as hard, because I don't believe personally in rest pausing on isolation movements, only compound movements.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And then I go into shoulders like you. I might do, I'll start with a shoulder press because I start compound first. Same thing, maybe 3 sets, working my way up. Last 2 sets are really the important ones. Then I'll go into some laterals, and I'll go up to what I usually got, like 14 kilos, as heavy as I go. But again, I sit on the bench, pretty strict. Try for 12 to 15 reps. You know, so again, isolation. So the reps are, you know, reasonably high. Then back will be like close grip cable pull downs, followed by wider grip cable pull downs. Never really wide, but always wide-ish. Because I try to, you know, the elbow's got to be in a little bit for full contraction. If they're out here, you're not going to contract very much. And then some kind of row, you know, that's my whole workout. So you've got, you know, 2 exercises per body part, 3 for back. So you've got, you know, 2 functional sets per exercise. So, you know, you're getting like, I get like, let's just round off to 6 working sets per body part per session. So that would be, you know, if we round up to 12 per week. So they say 10 to 12, 10 to 20. I'm 12, maybe 14 if back.
Right.
And I think that works for me. It's a good balance of being able to hit as hard as I can, and recover as well.
Yeah.
Personally, my most hated system volume wise is the bro split. I tried for once a long time ago, 1 body part a day, very high volume. For me, that's incredibly boring. Like doing the same body part, I can't focus with intensity on that body part for 90 minutes or whatever. Just doing exercise. I just can't do it. You know what I mean? I like to get in, get out, train really hard. get out. And at least for me, that's worked. It fits my lifestyle too. I have a life around that. I'm not training constantly.
Yeah.
The sessions are relatively short. They're about an hour out. That works for me too. I tried doing more when I last competed a few years ago, just to see if adding like extra arm session in. I think my arms looked a little better because they're just kind of full of blood more often throughout the week. They didn't really grow. But I think that, that moderate volume, it's around 12, 14, 15 sets max per week, or per 8 days, not really per week, is what I kind of works for me. And I don't know. I mean, some people swear by their bro split, doing 20, 25, 30 reps, sets per week. I don't know. The people I've seen that do that don't particularly impress me physically, except for the pros who do that, because they're pros. That's kind of where I'm at. That's how I feel.
That's really interesting, because like on that point we actually diverge a little bit, which is pretty cool. So I like bro split because it keeps my workouts shorter. So that for me is an hour, right? A bro split. And the way that I would do that is I'd typically compound my movements. So I would do something like a shoulder press, but then go directly into laterals after it.
Yeah.
So like put the weights down and then hit the laterals out right away. And I would do go back and forth on that. And then
superset, you're jumping supersetting, or?
Yeah, I thought I always get confused with the terminology, because like some people think that it has to be agonist superset or antagonist supersets or whatever, right? But so for me, you can call it a superset.
Okay.
But it's just basically it'd be a compound paired with an isolation.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So and I find if I do say like 3 pairs of that, that would be like enough sufficient for a body part, right? And I could get that done in an hour.
Okay.
Currently I'm actually doing more of, so it's basically push-pull legs, but push-pull legs minus 1 leg session per week. So I train legs only once a week.
Okay.
But push and pull both get two sessions.
Okay.
And it's a good split, but just because I have the extra body parts in each session, it does mean that the sessions are more like 75 to 90 minutes as opposed to an hour. So
yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah, I think, we're probably training about the same amount of time, actually, in the gym. It's just, I can't mentally do one body part for an hour.
I'm 5 days a week, though.
Yeah. So, but just like in that hour, if I'm in the gym for an hour, doing one body part, I get kind of crazy. I lose my focus. I can't just keep working on that one body part. I want 2 exercises and I want to be done. Frankly, that's it. I don't want to do anymore.
I don't trust myself to just do that little. But again, I'm an annihilator, right? So
yeah. I make sure those last reps, those last sets, they really count. But I think it's maybe just a mental thing. I want to move on. I want to get away from that and do something else. Just get a little bit
change after I stop competing too, right? It's just I just find that I don't know. Admittedly, I am exercising demons when I'm in the gym as well. So to get those out does take a while. So
yeah. I'm not exercising demons perhaps, but it is a good stress release. And I have always called it kind of like my active meditation. It's where my head clears, just focus on what I'm doing. Nothing else matters, which is, a very rare thing to have in life, to have actual mental quietude.
That's the best thing about bodybuilding. Or training with weights, right? Is just getting into the gym and being focused on something so simple. Yet so consuming. That you can't think of anything. You're not worried about. I don't care where 10-year notes are. I don't. I don't care where dollar yen is, right? All I care about is if I'm going to drop that 70-pound dumbbell on my head or not.
Right. Or get hurt some other way. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's maybe where my system that I follow works for me, because if I had to focus on one body part for that time, my mind would drift. I would start to lose focus. So just get bored of, doing the same thing, same muscle body part. But I'm not saying everybody should do that. That's just what works for me. I have found though that when I came back to competing in 2018 after 18 years hiatus from competing, continuously training, but competing, and I wanted to add size again to grow a little bit. I did do the AB split, the DC training, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, hit as hard as I could with the volume I just talked about. And I added some significant tissue in my 40s. So I think it works. That's a good way for me, again, I can't say what works best for everybody, but people ask me, what do I do? And have I changed that much in my later years, in my 40s and 50s? And this is what I do. The only thing I've changed is I've raised that failure point to at least 10 reps on every movement instead of say like 6 or 8, someone else might use.
No.
I think that's safer. Dante advocates even higher, I think, for safety. And
I like higher up stuff.
Yeah. I may move there later. I may move to 15 at the minimum failure point later on for safety. But so far, knock on wood.
I just the thing that I love about high reps is that I find that I get more satisfying reps.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, because you're close to failure on, say, rep 13. Rep 14 is really, really hard. Rep 15, you're like, and then, but so you've got like 3 of those really like satisfying reps. Whereas when I find I'm doing like an 8 rep set or something, it's more like, okay, and then maybe the second to last rep and the last rep are really like killers, but I just find that I feel like I get more out of the higher rep ranges because I feel like, I don't know, it's like when you're doing cardio or people that are doing like endurance sports or something, right?
Yeah.
That's when that mental component kind of gets unlocked, right? Where you go like, oh, I need to push through, and I got one more, and the drill sergeant's yelling at you, or whatever, right? In your head. And I found that with the lower rep range, I just don't have that. It's not the same rush for me. And at the end of the day, I am seeking a rush. So
but I think that's a really good point, because I think that also illustrates differences in people's mentalities, genetics of how their body works and everything. Because I don't know if it's because I've been doing this way for so long, or if it's just how I'm genetically tuned. But when I go in and I say I sit down at the machine to do machine, curls or whatever, the preacher type curl machine, my second rep I'm in it. My second rep I'm getting a pump already. You know what I mean? And I can be completely maxed out by rep 6, 7. No problem at all. I like to go to 15 or whatever, but I get locked in so quickly and get response so quickly that I don't have to go really high. I find if I'm having a bad day, for some reason, going higher will get me where I need to be. But if everything is kind of okay, I slept all right, I ate okay, I kind of click really fast. And I'm
interesting. It's like
I have that. And that may be just I've trained myself that way from decades of lower volume, higher intensity type training.
I don't know about that, because I tried that, and it's just not the same for me.
Maybe it's just genetic, I've also wondered too, I don't know, maybe it has something. I have really bad asthma. I've had since 8 years old.
Right.
So my stamina is really poor. So maybe something about my biology has kind of been tweaked, because that to be more explosive at lower ranges and give more at a quicker time, because I know I can't keep going.
But that kind of fits with the whole concept of there are some people that are more built to be strength athletes, or work in the lower rep range than there are in the higher rep range. So that kind of makes sense, right? Much the same as I mean, you would never be an endurance runner, I assume. But, in my case, that's entirely possible, right? I could take, really unleash the crazy and just let it go for, hours at a time, right?
Yeah. And that also brings up a curious point, because there is a gene that's been isolated. That's like the power gene. I can't remember the name of it, but it does come up on my 23andMe check.
Oh, neat.
And I did both myself and my wife. We did the spit in the tube type thing. And I don't have it, and she does.
Oh, interesting.
I do not have that power athlete gene. She has it. And when I taught her to train, she responded very, very quickly.
Interesting.
Faster than me, I'd say, especially for a woman. So maybe there is some merit to that or not, but that also says that genes aren't everything too, right? You know, think about that as well. So maybe epigenetically, I adapted over time to this kind of training, just by exposing my body to it for decades.
Possible. Yeah.
But I think, again, this kind of thing, going back to our last talk about expectations, like you don't really know these things until you put some serious time in the game. You know, you don't really know your response and the kind of that matrix of everything of how your body's gonna kind of work out until you've put some significant amount of time into it.
And that's why it's difficult with like interpreting scientific research, is that, you know, it goes for the average person, but
yeah,
you know, yeah,
this is a sport of outliers, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's where you see some people will get quite irate when someone puts out a study that says 10 to 12 is optimal. And that's not where they are, and they almost take like personal offense to it. I see a lot of activity about these, which is why I kind of want to talk about it today. And it's a good guideline for average people, like you said. It's a good place to start. Just like I tell people, like, what should I start with protein? Well, the recommendations are 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram, you know, by recent. So start with that. That's where you start, you know, and then find out where it goes for you. The same thing for the volume. Start with that and then see what works for you.
Absolutely. And I mean, if more people took science as a, well, which I think we do in terms of experienced practitioners, is, you know, we know that it's a starting point, and then from there, everyone's literally your own N=1 experiment.
Yep.
But I think that a lot of the younger kids, especially, think that because it's science says this, that's optimal, right? Or that's like applicable to everyone. And that's where the misunderstandings come in, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the sample sizes are relatively small. The time is relatively short. There's so many reasons why that can't be for everybody. You know, and I think no matter how they study this stuff, they never go that long in the research. They can't go that long. They can't go for years and decades and stuff. But we know bodybuilding takes that long to see results, to find out what works best for you. So that's also going to work against saying that is the penultimate information, because it's just not. You know, it's a good place to start, but you know, and definitely don't stop what you're doing if it's working because a study says there's a better way. You know, please. I know some people do that if they second guess themselves.
Oh, of course, because it's about optimization, right? So
don't do that. But you know, find the volume, the range, the workout, the reps that work for you. Progress them until they don't work anymore. Then maybe try something else. You know, if it really plateaus, not just like you get bored or stop putting energy into it, but if it really stops,
or have a bad day.
We all have bad months, even, you know, because of whatever's going on in our lives. So you have to consider that. But make sure another thing, I mean, this is obvious as well too, but put it in there, balance your volume with your recovery rate. Because I do think, I train hard, but I do think that ultimately volume is more of a deleterious effect on your overall recovery rate than intensity. I think, because it's just nervous system recovery versus the overall body reserves, glycogen, everything recovery is a, you know, significantly different rate of recovery.
That's interesting, because I recall having a fairly different experience with that, where, like, for example, on a leg day, you know, I push myself so hard that, like, literally after a set of Smith squats, for example, my whole body will shake. Like, I'll have shaky hands, I'll have like shaky everything, and it's not comfortable shaking. Either. It's not like, oh, I have a bit of a tremble. It's like, you know, really, really bad. And that's from, again, Annihilator. But the trying to recover from a session like that used to take quite a long time. That's more so than the volume. It was just
I think you're definitely falling into the extreme outlier category there, Greg.
I need to dial the crazy back a little bit, I guess.
I Annihilator. Like, I haven't annihilated myself yet. I'm not dust. I need to go further.
I used to laugh on Instagram. There was this meme that was flying around, and I think it was Batman that was looking at it and goes, I haven't injured myself on this exercise yet.
Well, I mean, some people, Jordan Peterson jokes a lot about how he pings fibers in the middle of things, and he kind of sees that as, you know, validation of training hard, you know? You can't do that for long, because there's only so many fibers you have, man.
I can speak to that.
I mean, I've toured muscle bellies, and I've heard the fibers rip.
Oh,
Not a pleasant thing. You don't want to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that's actually a good chat. I found we align and diverge in different areas on this.
Yeah,
may have initially,
I don't, not necessarily in the way that we were anticipating.
No, which is fun. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else finds this as entertaining as I did, but hopefully you do. Yeah. And as like I usually say, leave in the comments your own experiences. I like to hear what people have to say about this, their experiences, especially if they've trained a long time, what they've tried, what's worked for them, what hasn't. Be interesting to hear, and what are their feelings on the 10 to 20 sets per week volume. If you agree with us or have your own feelings, like to hear about it.
For sure.
Okay. Well, thank you, Craig. Always fun to talk to you. Again, I think you're 1 week out right now, right? So
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'm in the depths.
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll be talking. Might need to take a break next time.
I think next week. Yeah,
Yeah,
have to excuse myself.
Yeah. We'll catch up after that. And anyways, you take care of yourself and
sounds great.
Enjoy.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Cheers.